Yellow, how you doing? I'm glad you're here. It's Gummy. You can't take everything personal, and that's coming from someone who's extremely well versed in taking everything personal. You may be living your life, going to work, enjoying your hobby, and boom, someone may do or say something in your day that really sticks with you for a while. Maybe it's the rest of the day, maybe it's just for a couple hours, or maybe it's for months on end. It's really mind-boggling how we let an action or some words stick with us for so long. We almost feel imprisoned by this feeling. You could text a friend or someone you're into with a very heartfelt message, only to be followed up by the single letter K. Your boss could say, "Hey, come into my office," then we start spiraling into thoughts about getting fired and replaced by a chivalrous dude who looks exactly like Clark Kent. Alright, last part is more about where my head goes, but still, we find ways to exaggerate what people say to us and make it about us. And like I said, I'm someone who struggles with this, and I take a lot of things personally. It's one of my toxic traits, and it definitely stems from my people-pleasing tendencies. But what about you? When's the last time you spiraled over a text, a look, or a comment? I want to hear about your "I totally made it about me" story in the comments below. And if you're at this point and saying, "I've never felt this," you might be lying to yourself. And if you like chill, self-improvement, yap sessions like these, please like this video and subscribe for more ideas to chew on. Chew on. Gummy. Get it? Okay, sorry, I'm done. Back to business. Taking things too personal isn't a sign of us being weak or soft. It isn't as easy as just writing it off as overthinking. The tendency to take things personal is kind of written in our DNA. In a sense, it's a pretty human reaction to when people act in surprising ways or say unexpected things to us. It's based not only on your past experiences, but our past experiences as a species. We literally were always on guard as cavemen. If we didn't do our best to adhere to the group or the tribe that we were a part of, we would have been tossed to the saber-toothed tigers like it was taking out the trash. A lot of our emotional responses are tied to our DNA. It's the human condition. And that really is hard to hear, especially to our ego. Our ego is extremely talented at making us think we are the main character. Everything that happens in our life is unique. All of our problems and obstacles are one of one. No one can ever feel how we feel. Your ego needs to shut up in situations like this. Sure, our ego drives us to do things that help reaffirm our image of who we are as an individual. By no means is that embracing ego a bad thing. But when people say something that goes against or chips away at our ego, we tend to get defensive. Like, bad baby, catch me outside defensive, if you know what I'm saying. Instead of taking an action or words with a grain of salt, we want to attack right back or sulk to ourselves. Our ego takes it as an attack, but in reality, it is just a grain of salt. Am I saying ignore everything anyone says to you and never accept accountability for your own actions? Hell no, that's terrible advice. But most of the time, we're not being attacked. And that's the reality. Our ego tricks us. And once again, it's a natural response. Part of the issue is our baggage. We have a lot of it. Someone may say something, ignore us, or give us a reaction that triggers something we felt in our past. We definitely over-exaggerate at times, but when our only lived experiences have taught us how to react, sometimes it is hard to not take it personally. It's as if those people just kind of punched a bruise, you know? They weren't the ones who caused it, but they hit a spot that doesn't feel too great to us. The problem is, they didn't aim to hit the bruise on purpose, nor did they ever know it was there. If you're starting to see a common thread, congrats. You're right. We are the problem. I would say 90% of the time, we are our own worst enemy in these situations of taking something personally. I know looking back on my first year of teaching, I was a huge detriment to myself. I would spend hours planning for the week, doing my best to make engaging lessons for the class. I would show up on Monday full of enthusiasm, only to have it torn to shreds by third period. I let my students' reactions dictate the value of my work and the value of the effort I put in. When they would react negatively or be somewhat disrespectful, I took it as a hit on who I am as a person. In reality, these kids just didn't want to do homework. What an odd concept. Teenagers not wanting to do their work. And I still struggle with this at times, but I feel the older I get, the better I get at not taking things so personal. But how? Well, these are some tips I'm practicing to this day. Emphasis on practicing. I still struggle, but reminding myself of these 5 tactics sure do help. Number 1, use the 90-10 rule. Assume that 90% of what that person said or how they reacted is more of a reflection on them and what's going on in their life, not you. 10% of why they are doing is something you did, but even then, that's a comfy reminder to make you realize that you're not the main character. That 10% isn't worth creating false narratives about yourself. And speaking of creating false narratives, tip number 2, create a neutral first draft. I'm not telling you to physically write a story, but before you go to DEFCON 5 in your head on why a girl's not texting you back, do your best to generate a neutral story. Instead of saying, oh, she's not texting me back because I used a risky emoji, just tell yourself, oh, she's not texting back because she's busy, and leave that draft there. The more you revise it, the more you think, the more you're going to take it personal, and no one needs to read that draft. Tip number 3, pause before reacting. I know in some cases you don't have time to react, but in most instances, things have been said or done to you, and they're not irreversible, or they can't be immediately fixed. We usually are left to stew on it. Try to pause before seeking vengeance or letting it dictate your week. I usually try like a 24-hour rule. I let it sting, but after 24 hours, it's over. And usually by hour 4, it's not a big deal. It's lost its effect. Tip number 4, lower the spotlight effect. The ego is a son of a bitch, plain and simple. Explicitly remind yourself that people have way too much time in their life and way too much going on in their life to truly think about you as much as you think they are. They don't. You are not the center of their world. You spending time imagining that you are the spotlight of their mind is not worth the energy. Take a bow and get out of the spotlight. Your ego will be okay, and honestly, better for that. Last but not least, tip number 5. Your circle is all that matters. Last but not least, tip number 5. Your circle is all that matters. Your group of people that you choose to trust, love, and admire are the only people you should listen to. The key word in that sentence was choose. Just because they're your family or your lifelong friends doesn't mean you need to value their 2 cents. If they have interest in what's best for you and you only, you will know. And those are the only people you really need to listen to. No one else really matters. So here's the deal. Taking everything personal is a default setting in our brain. It helped us survive the early days of our species, but that doesn't mean it's gone away as we have evolved. Mix that with our ego and lived experiences, it's super easy to fall in a rabbit hole of worst case scenarios. But just because it's a natural reaction doesn't mean it has to control us anymore. Take some time mentally to reframe these moments. The more you can pause and reassess and understand you're not the main character, life gets a lot easier. You don't let someone's bad mouth turn into a bad week. You save mental energy that you can use on other fulfilling things in life, like, your goals and shit. And yeah, maybe sending that risky emoji without overthinking it. If you got something out of this, make sure to drop a like on this video. And please, drop your best "I totally made it about me" story in the comments. I'll read them, laugh with you, and maybe even feel better about my own overreactions. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.